Interest rates are rising, and who cares? I can tell you who doesn't care. Buyers. The market is still hot. Homes are still selling like hotcakes. Homes are still receiving, at least homes that are being listed are still receiving multiple offers. So if you are thinking about selling, it's still a good time to sell. And if you're thinking about buying, you need to have a strategy in place because the market is still crazy. Now, I can tell you this, it has slowed down. And that's something that I've talked about over the last several months. It has slowed down, but demand is still there. And as long as demand is there, we're going to see a crazy market and we're going to see home prices affected by that. So let's talk about let me back up a little bit. This is going to be a market update, okay? And some stuff that we're going to look at today is we're going to talk about interest rates, and we're going to look at some data that supports how hot the market is here in Phoenix. So let's talk about interest rates. Now, interest rates have increased to about 4.27%. That's the national average, okay? And so they've risen and they fell a little bit this past week due to what's happened globally, but they are still historically low. When we compare the interest rates back to 1981, now I know that was a long time ago. I remember 1981. I don't know if you remember, but I remember 1981. And so in 1981, the interest rates were 16%. I cannot even imagine paying 16% for a mortgage rate. And then in 2018, now that is more recent, right? So in 2018, the mortgage rates were about 4.5%. So if we're sitting at a national average of 4.27%, it's still low, all right? I think maybe, and let me know your thoughts on this, maybe we're spoiled a little bit, right? So for the last few years, the mortgage rates have been so low. 3% mortgage rates. And so a lot of buyers were taking advantage of that. And I think we got spoiled a little bit. So now it's up over 4%. And some of us may consider that high. But when you compare it to 16%, it is still low. And what I believe is happening is a lot of buyers are taking advantage of that. Really, maybe because no one can predict the future. And so there's a lot of uncertainty of what's going to happen with this year alone, or even over the next 2 years. And so buyers may just be taking advantage of that. And still, it's going to be spring officially in a few weeks. And the spring time is usually a hot time for buyers. So let's take a look at this article. U.S. house prices to rise another 10% this year. U.S. house prices are set to climb in double digits this year, even as the Federal Reserve embarks on its expected series of interest rate hikes, according to a Reuters poll of property analysts who forecast a seller's market for another 2 years. The February 8th through 28th poll of 33 property analysts suggested U.S. house prices would rise 10.3% this year. That was an upgrade from 8% in the December poll, suggesting underlying demand for housing is still strong and housing supply is still tight. So the housing market is all about supply and demand. If there's a demand and supply is low, the house prices are going to go up, and that's what we are seeing. Now, demand, like I said, demand has slowed down, but not by that much, to be honest. It is still a hot market. Prices are rising at a super fast speed here in Phoenix. As a matter of fact, the average price per square footage has risen 6.2% in the first 2 months of the year and are likely to continue until May of this year. I predict that that it is going to be crazy, or just continue to be a crazy market. Now, just from my own personal experience, what I've been seeing is that homes that are currently listed are receiving multiple offers above asking, and we're going to look at some data that shows closing price over list price. So we're going to look at that data, and homes are not lasting long. Over the last year, we've seen homes being under contract or going under contract within a matter of days. I am still witnessing that. All right, so like I said, if you are a buyer, you need to have a strategy in place that will help you get your offer accepted and be flexible. And if you're a seller, it is still a good time to sell. Okay, so let's take a look at some data that shows how hot the Phoenix market is. So the first piece of information I want to share with you is the days of inventory. So as of February 26th, we are sitting at 14.7 days of inventory. That is 2 weeks. So what that means is if there were no more new listings put on the market, we would sell out what we have on the market. We would sell out in 14.7 days. 2 weeks, all right, a little over 2 weeks. And let me just point out, this is for single family homes only in Maricopa County, excuse me. So 14.7 days of inventory, that's not a lot. Let me share this chart with you. Take a look at this chart. This compares the days of inventory since 2019. Now this chart includes homes that are under contract. The data that I just shared where the days of inventory were 14.7, that did not include homes that were under contract. Okay, so this chart here shows homes that are under contract. So if you look, in 2019, we had 84.6 days of inventory. In 2020, we had 47.5. Just last year, we had 27. Now we're at 24. And how that's going to impact the market, I should say the home prices, it's going to increase it. If demand is still there and we have a low supply, it's going to push the prices up, just as the analysts in that article that I shared were discussing. Again, the housing market is all about supply and demand. Now, things could change, right? Depending on what happens globally and other things that are happening in our economy, things could change. But right now, we're not seeing that the housing market here in Phoenix is slowing down. The data just doesn't support that. So I mentioned earlier how the homes that are being listed or that are being sold are closing over list price. We are still seeing that happen. In the month of February, 50% of the homes listed closed over list price. Now, I'm going to break that down even further to price ranges. So if you are interested in a price range of $400,000 and $500,000, those homes listed in that price range, they sold over 52% of those homes sold over list price. And then in the price range of $300,000 to $400,000, 62.1% of those homes sold over list price. So what that means is if you are buying and if your price range is between $300,000 and $500,000, there is a high chance that you will pay over list price. So have a strategy in place. Make sure you speak with your realtor, strategize with your realtor to find out what you can do to get your offer accepted. The other piece of data I would like to share with you is our pending listings. Now, pending listings lets us know really the type of activity that we're seeing here in the housing market in Phoenix. A pending listing, just in case you're not aware, is a house that has gone under contract and it's waiting to close, all right? And so pending listings have increased. This is as of March 2nd. Pending listings have increased 5% from last month, so from February 2nd, and then they also have increased by 3% from this time last year. So this shows that activity is still there. And then last but not least, our Comfort Market Index. So the Comfort Market Index lets us know how balanced the market is here in Phoenix. So if the Comfort Market Index is above 100, it is a seller's market. If it is below 100, it's a buyer's market. And if it's around 100, it is balanced as possible. So the Cromford Market Index overall is 469. Now this is down from last month. Last month it was 472. So it's really not by that much, but it's way above 100 still, right? So it is still a seller's market. And then our supply and demand index. Demand index is 121.3, and this is as of February 1st. And when this is above 100, we see we have more demand than usual. And then supply index is 25.7. And when this number is below 100, we have less supply than normal. So we are still seeing low supply, and we are still seeing a high demand. And this is causing the price of home prices to go up at the rate that they're going up. And so, as a matter of fact, real quick, I had a client who recently closed on a new build. Congratulations, by the way. Recently closed on a new build, and their house is already appreciated, and they just moved in. And so we're still seeing an very interesting market. The last piece of data that I would like to share with you is the monthly median sales price for the Phoenix area, for Maricopa County, and this is for single family homes only, all right? And so as of March 2nd, the monthly median sales price in the Phoenix area was $500,000. Now in January, this number was $485,000. And so this is a 3% increase in 1 month. So, like I said, if you are considering buying, I believe that is still a good time to buy because interest rates are still historically low, even though, like I said, we're probably spoiled a little bit, but interest rates are still historically low, so it's still a good time to buy. But you may have to, more than likely, be flexible. So if you are a seller, it's still a good time to sell if you are looking to sell your home for whatever reason. I would love to hear your thoughts on what the housing market, how have you been impacted by this housing market, especially if you're a buyer and if you've been trying to buy for the last year or even just recently. What has your experience been like? I know it's been frustrating and still frustrating for some buyers, but as long as you have a strategy in place, that should help ease some of that stress that you're going through. And yes, I would love to hear from you. So as always, thank you so much for tuning in. I am Renee, the Realtor, and we'll see you next time.